день, это «Самоизоляция Лив», в эфире Ингрида Ким. Сегодня у меня в гостях Дэвид Вульф, управляющий партнер компании North Star. Hello, yes, hello, Mr. David. So you now in Czech Republic, yes?
Yes, that's right, in Prague.
In Prague. Could you tell us the situation in quarantine in Czech Republic, when it will be finished, when it's going to be open again?
Right. Well, the Czech Republic started very quickly with their quarantine measures, enforcing people to wear masks outside, social distancing, staying at home policy, and we've been, gosh, I think it's almost 8 weeks now, and they started opening up in stages, and today is a new stage where we're going to see even restaurants are open, hotels are open, museums are open, schools, not all the schools, but many schools are open. So, but there's still caution in the air. We still need to wear masks, and we still need to wear abide by social distancing. For example, if you go into a store, you should stay 2 meters away from somebody. And they even have on the store floors now some messages: stand here, and then another one 2 meters away, stand here in line. So don't. And the people are obeying. The people are listening. I think they trust the government, which is unusual for many countries. And the measures have seemed to work. Only 300 people in Czech Republic have died since the coronavirus started. In the past 2-3 weeks, it's been, I don't know, like 10 to 20 people who've died. So they've really, it's really successful. Now, there could be a couple other reasons for that. The fact that the virus just didn't really come to many parts of the Czech Republic. I mean, at the beginning, there was some that went to Italy. They went skiing. This is in February, went skiing in Italy, and they came back. But immediately they were quarantined. And even one village had a few breakouts, and the entire village was blocked off from the rest of the country. So they really contained it well and fast. So now they started doing some immunity tests, but it's going to take a while before we see some real statistics to show whether. But so far, it looks like most of those tests turned out negative, which means people are not immune and they just didn't get it yet. So the first stage of containment was done well. Now the second stage is about immunity, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Well, what about discipline? As I understand, behave very well, sitting home, yes, follow rules of government. I mean, people, how we behave during quarantine? Are we walking in the park or staying home mostly?
The people are very disciplined. I'm very surprised. I'm American, so I'm watching the American news, and I see the Americans are fighting about it. They have wars between, wearing the mask and not wearing the mask, which, wearing the mask only works if everybody listens to it. And because there are a lot of benefits in wearing a mask, but the first one is that you're protecting other people. So it's, and I think the Czechs understand that. It's really politeness, because you may have the virus, but you have no symptoms, but you can spread it. So if you wear a mask, you're less likely to spread it. because you may not even know you have it. So the Czechs have been very disciplined about wearing it. The other good thing about wearing a mask is that it prevents you from touching your face. You know, if you're wearing a mask, you don't touch your face. So if you picked up the germs with your fingers, you know, you're touching a door handle or something, you're not going to put your fingers in your mouth if you're wearing a mask. So it does help you personally as well. So they, and the first week of quarantine, there was a big campaign from the government, and I have to say the government did a very good job. Prime Minister and all the people in the government wore masks when they were on television, and all the news reporters, all the journalists are wearing masks on TV. So it became, let's say, comfortable to see people wearing masks. And so everybody wore masks, and they made it at home. I mean, our family made, my daughter made my mask just from old T-shirts or whatever. You can just make, you know, normal cotton mask is fine, you know, and you can wash them. It's you know, you don't have to have the N95 surgical masks. Those should stay in the hospitals where, you know, the medical people really need them. But for normal outdoor activity, a cloth mask works fine. So, and the Czechs have done that. They've done it very well. Now, it's not very comfortable to go jogging with a mask, but people do it. People are jogging with masks. People are riding bikes with masks. They're even wearing the mask inside a car by themselves. So I'm impressed. They're very disciplined.
Well, what about tests? Is it available to do this free test, or you should go to a laboratory and pay for test, making tests for COVID?
Yes. The tests are available, and
are they free? It's like usual.
They were free for a while. Now you have to pay, and I think it's like $25 for tests. It's and you make an appointment online to get it. There's certain places where you can get the tests. You can do it while in the car. I haven't done it myself. But I know some people who have. They also have, there's two different types. There's a test whether you have the virus or not, and then there's a test whether you're immune or not. The immunity test, they tried that, and it was just so much demand. There was too much demand for it that they stopped it, and then they're going to start again another wave of tests after they analyze the statistics. But the first round of statistics came out almost all negative. So it's, you know, I think they're trying to improve the tests right now.
Mm-hmm. What do you think about next wave of coronavirus? Is it will be back, or we will stop it in our in common efforts to fight with COVID?
Oh, I believe it's coming back. Okay, the Spanish flu in 1918, the second wave was much bigger than the first wave. This one, you know, it's definitely, there's definitely going to be a second wave. I understand the beginning, the quarantine was essential for the hospitals to get prepared, because there wasn't enough equipment, there weren't enough beds for such a rapid spread of the virus, especially what we saw in Italy. In Italy, by the way, they didn't wear masks, they weren't prepared, and then they, you know, not only they didn't have hospital beds, they didn't even have places to put the dead bodies. So Germany is doing quite a good job, and the Czech Republic is more on doing things more like the German way, although they're even more strict. Sweden, on the other hand, they just did social distancing. So no quarantine. But in Sweden, they're saying that they have a higher immunity than countries like the Czech Republic, which had more quarantine and more containment. That's possible. So in that case, the second wave should be, not as strong in Sweden and stronger here, unless, of course, we can quarantine it again when it does start. I guess we're going to see it very soon because, as I said, today is when they opened the hotels, the restaurants, museums, and schools. And the results of that will probably be in 2 weeks. We'll see.
Mm-hmm. What do you think about vaccination? Will it help us to prevent virus in future?
Well, that's of course, that's a good question. I mean, we're all waiting for vaccines. Many countries are working on the vaccines, and the more they're researching about this virus, it's your immunity system is what's going to help you survive through the virus. The vaccine, of course, will help your immunity system. But so what people really need to do, I hope this virus sends a message to everybody in the world. We got to be a little bit healthier, starting with diet, eating properly, exercising, and then again also treating the environment better. So pollution, all these things help improve our immunity system. And the vaccine, of course, that'll be it'll take probably 12 to 18 months before we see a vaccine, and then we have to vaccinate 7 billion people. So it could take a while if the vaccine is available. Now, there's still no vaccine, I think, for MERS and for SARS. So, hopefully we will get this for COVID. And then maybe things will go back to normal. But going back to normal there will be a change. The normal will be different than the normal of last year. I would suspect people's behavior will change.
Mm-hmm. How it behave? What do you think? What will be a special feature of behavior?
Well, like this, I think more. People are going to rely more on video conferencing for meetings. There's certain. I mean, I see it in our business, investment banking business. There are, I would probably at least 50% of our travel meetings were just to some conference room. We don't need to do that. I mean, if we're going to visit a factory and go see something, that's one thing. But if we're just going to meet people and talk, we can do that by video conferencing. We don't have to have face-to-face meetings. So I think there's going to be less traveling on airplane, less than there was a year ago. And so we're just going to be more selective about travel. I think we will be more, even it looks like lots of us have learned how to cook at home. So maybe, more people will be cooking, less restaurants. Of course, it's nice to go to restaurants, but I think it'll be, in percentage-wise, it'll be less than it was last year. So restaurants, tourism, traveling, those industries are going to be, I don't think they're going to go back to the way it was.
Mm-hmm. What about government support in Czech Republic of business? Could you tell us how we pay, or do we subsidize some small and medium enterprises during quarantine?
Well, the government does support salaries, about 70% of the salaries. So that's been helpful to the people. There's
for all companies.
Yeah, as far as I know, yes. There's been some rules where, for example, for debt, if you own a bank debt, you can apply to the bank to ask for deferral. There's companies as well as individual mortgages. You can ask the banks to defer the payment until after the virus is over. You still have to pay it, but you just don't have to pay it now. And this is unlike in some other countries, I think for Serbia, for example, where it is the opposite, where people do not have to apply, it's just automatic. They don't have to pay at all. So, I mean, they don't have to, it's automatically deferred. So, because from what I understand, it's not only about 10 to 20% of the people are actually applying to the banks for this deferral help. So that means at least 80 to 90% are paying their mortgages and their debt on time during the virus, which is impressive. So the economy here is pretty strong. It's
economical crisis.
Got a good chance of surviving this virus.
Mm-hmm. Can you tell about the crisis at all world? What do you think how it will be economical crisis?
It's horrible. Yeah. Yeah, it's horrible for some people. It's a disaster, and yeah, it's lots of people have lost jobs. I mean, Europe I think has got a better system to handle crisis. Because it does protect people's salaries, at least to a certain extent. And the healthcare is for everybody. I mean, I'm watching the United States where, I mean, first of all, many people did not have healthcare, and healthcare is linked to employment. And in America, you can be fired without any notice, and so millions of people have lost their jobs in America, and at the same time they lose their health care.
I would like to talk.
I
would like to talk about Czech Republic, because otherwise my topic is Czech Republic, and how is in Czech Republic healthcare for people? It's also providing.
Well, that's I prefer. Yes, the healthcare is fantastic. So yeah, it's for everybody, and I mean, you can pay extra to get private health care, but public health care is available for everybody, whether you're working or not. And the unemployment system here is pretty good. Yes, there's been an increase in unemployment, but the people are receiving their unemployment checks. I mean, especially in the service industry, restaurants and hotels, etc. It's been high unemployment.
How much is it?
As far as I know, they've been collecting.
How much they get?
How much is what?
Medium check.
I think they're getting 70% of their salaries.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not sure. That's what I understand.
Okay. Thank you for your interview. It was very interesting and informative.
Yeah.
Спасибо. Это была программа «Самоизоляция Лив». В эфире Ингрида Ким. И у меня в гостях был сегодня Дэвид Вульф, управляющий партнер компании North Star. До свидания. Thank you. Goodbye.